The following episode describes in detail the investigation of an unsolved abduction and murder case. Listener discretion is advised. It's August 5th, 1993, a beautiful sunny summer day in central Massachusetts with temperatures peaking in the mid-70s. Richard Piirainen has taken his 3 children, Holly, Andrew, and Zachary, to visit their grandparents' cottage in Sturbridge. At around 11:45 a.m., Richard and his children return from their morning boat ride. Holly and her brother Zachary get permission to go visit their neighbors on Allen Road, roughly 500 yards from their grandparents' cottage. The neighbors have a new litter of puppies, and Holly and Zachary are going to watch the puppies play outside. An hour later, Zachary returns to the family cottage alone. When Holly didn't come back with Zachary, Richard immediately went looking for her. All he found was one of Holly's sneakers along South Shore Road. It's like deja vu, a story you know you've heard before. A girl abducted near a body of water in central Massachusetts, surrounded by heavily wooded areas and overlapping the county lines of Hampton and Worcester counties. The girl's skeletal remains are discovered in a forest area many weeks later and many miles away from where she was last seen. On the surface, this scenario could be used to describe the unsolved case of 16-year-old Molly Bish in 2003, whose story we told to conclude Season 6. This time, however, we go back another 10 years to the summer of 1993, and we start this new season with the unsolved abduction and murder of 10-year-old Holly Piirainen. Holly was taken near her grandparents' summer cottage home in Sturbridge in August 1993. Her remains were discovered 2 months later by hunters in the woods along Firebridge Road in Brimfield. Welcome back to Unsolved Worcester. I'm your host, Dan Yeager. Unsolved Worcester takes a deep dive every Tuesday into the unsolved murders and missing persons cases under investigation by the Worcester Police Department's Detective Unit, the Worcester County District Attorney's Office, and the Massachusetts State Police. Be sure to visit Unsolved Worcester on Facebook and Instagram, and listen to all episodes for free at unsolvedworcester.com and on your favorite podcast streaming platforms. Check out the video for this episode with exclusive aerial views and more on the Unsolved Worcester YouTube page. And don't forget to hit that subscribe button. It's been more than 30 years since 10-year-old Holly Piirainen was abducted and killed. She would have turned 41 in January this year. Holly disappeared on August 5th, 1993. Holly was vacationing with her father and brothers at her grandparents' cottage in Sturbridge. She had last been seen by her father around 11:45 a.m., heading toward a neighbor's house to play with puppies in the area of Allen and South Shore Roads. Holly's brother found one of her white sneakers on the side of South Shore Road. Just before 1 p.m., Holly was reported missing, and a police search was quickly underway, with Sturbridge Police, Massachusetts State Police, Hampton and Worcester County Sheriff's Departments, and units from Connecticut and Rhode Island all participating in the extensive search. A roadblock was formed by police cruisers along Allen Road and South Shore Road, hoping to stop anyone with information on Holly's whereabouts. Over the first handful of days, hundreds of people volunteered to look for Holly alongside law enforcement search and rescue units across 5 miles in Sturbridge toward the Brookfield town line. But week after week, the search didn't turn up any sign of Holly. wasn't until October 23rd, 1993, 11 weeks later, when Holly's remains were found by pheasant hunters in an Army Corps of Engineers flood control forest off of a dirt access road along 5 Bridge Road in Brimfield, south of Route 20, and roughly 6 miles from where Holly was last seen. The hunters came upon a skull and one sneaker, roughly 50 feet from the banks of Quinnebog River and at the edge of Brimfield State Forest. The remains were badly decomposed, but Holly was identified by police by the clothes she had been wearing when she was last seen: black spandex shorts and a Bart Simpson t-shirt. The autopsy and examination would reveal Holly had been stripped naked, assaulted, and murdered. The body was left exposed to the elements and animals in the woods. A little over 3 weeks later, on November 13th, 1993, Holly was laid to rest at Fairview Cemetery in Grafton. Holly was born in Worcester in 1983, but her family had moved to Grafton in 1986. When she died, Holly left her parents, Richard Piirainen and Christina Harrington, her brothers Andrew and Zachary, grandparents, maternal great-grandparents, aunts, uncles, cousins, friends, and her 5th grade classmates at Grafton Intermediate School. Holly was a member of the school chorus. She was a Girl Scout and a member of St. Philip's Church, where her funeral was held in front of more than 500 family members and friends. In a bizarre and heartbreaking coincidence, about a decade later, in 2003, Holly's family revealed a letter from 16-year-old Molly Bish to the Piirainen family from 1993. Molly had been abducted from Cummins Pond in Warren, and when Holly's family saw Molly's name on the news, they remembered the letter. Like Holly, Molly was 10 years old in 1993. In the letter, Molly wrote, "I am very sorry. I wish I could make it up to you. Holly is a very pretty girl. She is almost as tall as me. I wish I had knew Holly. I hope they found her." Coming up, the 30-year investigation into Holly's murder leads to a whole list of possible suspects. America's Most Wanted was near its peak of television audience viewers in 1993, and Fox Network's true crime series was already at the Piirainen summer cottage home in Sturbridge about a week after Holly was abducted. The America's Most Wanted segment, which aired on August 11th, 1993, reached a nationwide audience with an estimated 10 to 15 million viewers. It would be the start of what would be a busy 3 weeks for Holly's family and the investigation into her disappearance. A tip line was set up at Massachusetts State Police Barracks in Sturbridge. The number was a direct line to officers investigating the case. Following the America's Most Wanted episode, the Piirainen family and state police were contacted by psychics, receiving hundreds of calls on the tip line over just a few weeks, with tips and vague descriptions of where they thought Holly could be found. Coincidentally, when Holly's remains were found in Brimfield, state police said one of the many psychics that called them gave them a location in the middle of the woods where Holly's body could be found. The psychic's tip was only a mile off. In early September, the family hired private investigator Carl Westerman, a former Auburn police officer who had an office on Franklin Street in Worcester back in 1993. Today, Westerman's office is in Auburn. Just weeks before he was hired by the Piirainens, Westerman was working the case on his own accord and said he had 3 solid leads in the investigation. Westerman even set up his own tip line, and he told reporters in September that he believed the facts showed Holly's disappearance was a random abduction. Holly's family was able to pay for Westerman's services thanks in part to a fundraiser held in mid-August 1993 by Robert Arms of Brookfield and his family. The fundraiser was held at Brookfield Elementary School and raised $5,000. Interestingly enough, Robert Arms would be the first in a long list of possible suspects in the abduction and murder of Holly Piirainen. Arms didn't know the Piirainen family before Holly's abduction. In 1995, Arms told the Worcester Telegram and Gazette that state police investigators started looking into him just weeks after Holly's remains were discovered. According to the TNG, Holly's remains were found not far from the home of Arms's stepfather in Brimfield, and Arms's uncle lived in Sturbridge near where Holly was abducted. Arms was given a polygraph test, and he failed it, according to reports. Arms said he refused to take a second polygraph. Police questioned Arms's co-workers and friends and even impounded Arms's work vehicle. A CBS News 48 Hours report from 2003 shares some interesting facts into the investigation of Robert Arms. Namely, that Arms knew the area well. He purchased new boots on the same day Holly disappeared. He junked his personal vehicle shortly after. A pair of investigators, an ex-cop and a criminal profiler, told CBS that Arms's fundraising efforts after Holly disappeared were highly unusual. That and him going to the Telegram and Gazette to make it public that the police believed he was a suspect. By 2003, Arms had moved to New Hampshire. Another prominent and possible suspect in the abduction and murder of Holly Piirainen was revealed in early 1994. His name is Louis S. Lent, Jr., a convicted murderer, suspected serial killer, and pedophile. In 1994, Lent lived in North Adams, Massachusetts. He was a janitor at Pittsfield Cinema Center in nearby Pittsfield for about 7 years before he was fired in late 1990. Lent was arrested and arraigned on January 10, 1994, in the November 1990 murder of 12-year-old Jimmy Bernardo. Bernardo's body was found on November 21, 1990 in Ithaca, New York, more than 200 miles from Pittsfield. On January 7, 1994, days before his arrest in the Bernardo boys' murder, 12-year-old Rebecca Savaresi picked Lent out of a lineup. Lent had attempted to kidnap Savaresi while she was walking to school. A search of Lent's apartment and vehicles connected him to the Bernardo case. Lent would later confess to kidnapping, sexually assaulting, and killing Bernardo in 1990, and 12-year-old Sarah Ann Wood in New York in August 1993, 2 weeks after Holly Piirainen was abducted. Since 1994, Lent has been connected to several missing or murdered children cases, including the 1993 murder of Holly Piirainen. Initially, investigators couldn't place Lent in Sturbridge in August 1993. They knew where Lent was before and after Holly's disappearance, but couldn't pin down where he was on the day Holly was abducted. It was until December 1996 when it was revealed that a woman jogger had identified Lent driving a van near Sturbridge on the morning Holly was taken. The woman said a man in a van had pulled up to her while she was jogging, made suggestive comments, and drove off. The woman, described by police as a credible witness, picked Lent's photo out of a group of 5 to 10 suspects. The woman also picked out a photo of Lent's Econoline van from a group of photos of other vehicles. Lent sold the van to a scrapyard shortly after Holly disappeared. Like with Robert Arms, police haven't been able to collect enough evidence against Lent in Holly's murder. Today, Lent is serving a life sentence at Old Colony Correctional Center in Bridgewater, Massachusetts. Over the years, there have been other potential suspects named in Holly's case, including Rodney Stanger, who was a suspect in the murder of Molly Bish. In 2009, while awaiting trial for the murder of his girlfriend in Florida, investigators questioned Stanger in connection with Molly's and Holly's murder. Stanger is currently serving time at the Union Correctional Institution in Rayford, Florida. In 2011, Gerald Battistoni, a convicted child rapist from Ware, was also questioned in both the Molly Bish and Holly Piirainen cases. Battistoni attempted suicide in 2011 after his name was mentioned in media outlets as a possible suspect in both cases. Battistoni died in custody in 2014. In 2012, the Hampton County District Attorney's Office announced they made a forensic connection to David E. Pouliot of Springfield. Pouliot was a hunter and known to frequent the area in Brimfield where Holly's remains were found. The piece of evidence found in 1993 was indisputably linked to Pouliot and made Pouliot a person of interest in the case, but didn't necessarily make him a suspect. It could simply mean that Pouliot was in the area of Holly's remains in 1993, or that someone he was affiliated with was responsible for Holly's death. Pouliot died in 2003. Coming up, forensic testing on a specific case item from 1993 is brought forward to the public 30 years later. Like Molly Bish and several other cases we've explored on Unsolved Worcester, Holly Piirainen's murder is one of 52 unresolved homicides and missing person cases featured on the Massachusetts State Police Unresolved Cases Playing Cards deck, which were distributed to state prison inmates in February 2022 with the hope they may have and share information about the crimes. Holly is the two of hearts in the deck. Between the summer of 2022 to early 2023, the Hampton County District Attorney's Office sent case items from 1993 for further forensic testing. On February 1st, 2023, District Attorney Anthony Gallooni provided an update on the investigation in Holly's case.
Throughout the subsequent investigation into Holly's disappearance and death, evidence has been reviewed, identified for forensic analysis, and subjected to various testing procedures. As a part of my office's ongoing efforts to solve outstanding homicide cases, Holly's case has remained in focus and has been continually reviewed to determine if the application of further forensic and scientific examination would be beneficial. Regarding one item, a white tank top, the assistance of the public is now being sought.
The white tank top shirt with the word Boston across the front in blue, purple, and pink colors was presented to the public in a call from the Hampton County DA asking for assistance in finding the shirt's owner or where the shirt was made or sold. The shirt is connected to the area near 5 Bridge Road in Brimfield where Holly Piirainen's skeletal remains were discovered. The shirt has no tags or size information. We will close Holly's episode with information from a group of 4 retired law enforcement officers and detectives with ties to Holly's case. The group runs helpholly.com, a website with information on the circumstances around Holly's abduction and murder, and another place to leave anonymous tips in connection with Holly's case. According to their timeline of events of August 5th, 1993, the day Holly was abducted, a pair of teenage girls walking along Allen Road said they saw a pickup truck with a cap over its cargo bed being driven by a white, middle-aged man with facial hair and a hat. The truck passed the house where the girls were staying, but slowed down to a walking speed, and the man driving the truck stared at the girls. One girl said it was almost as if he was going to stop completely and jump out and take them. The girls turned and ran, and the truck continued down Allen Road toward the neighbor's home, where Holly was waiting to see the puppies. Moments later, one of the girls said she saw the same pickup truck heading past her house and away from where Holly would be. The girl said the pickup was speeding back the way it came. It's entirely possible that Holly was in the truck. To date, there's been no mention by investigators of who might be driving that truck or its connection to the list of suspects. Thank you for listening. I'm Dan Yeager. Don't miss another episode. Click the notification button to get alerts when new episodes of Unsolved Worcester drop. If you enjoyed listening to this episode, please consider giving us a 5-star rating or clicking the like button on our YouTube videos. Anyone with information on the murder of Holly Piirainen are asked to contact the Hampton County District Attorney's Office at an anonymous tip line at 413-426-3507. You can also use text-a-tip by texting the word CRIMES to 74637 and type the word SOLVE, SOLVE, into the body of the message followed by your tip. Come back next time for episode 2 of Unsolved Worcester Season 7 and the unsolved homicide of 16-year-old Sydney Crow of Worcester in May 2018. Be sure to catch up on all previous episodes at unsolvedworcester.com. Special thanks to the Worcester Public Library, the Worcester Police Department, the City of Worcester, and our sponsors for making this possible. Season 7 of Unsolved Worcester wouldn't be possible without the generous contributions of our fundraising campaign donors, especially Marcia, Jason, and Nicole. Information on Holly's case was gathered from multiple resources, including the Worcester County District Attorney's Office, the Hampton County District Attorney's Office, the Massachusetts State Police, the Worcester Telegram and Gazette, Mass Live, Spectrum News 1, Investigation Discovery, the Justice for Holly Piirainen Facebook page, helpholly.com, and more. The Unsolved Worcester podcast music is provided by Tom Lebelzik of the Worcester Jazz Collective. This episode is written and produced by Pat Sargent. Drone footage provided by Ron Scott at Chasing Daylight Studio. Videography and editing by Colin Turner. This program is supported in part by a grant from the Worcester Arts Council and the National Endowment for the Arts. To find out more about how National Endowment for the Arts grants impact individuals and communities, visit www.arts.gov.